Colorism in the modeling industry? It's an ugly subject, but let's talk about it. This prejudice for a certain skin tone is simply racism in a different package, and although casting directors and clients want to pretend that they care about diversity, I see through the smokescreen. There's no way to tackle this subject in just one video, so consider this the start of a conversation. Racism in the modeling industry isn't something new. You can go back to the days when Richard Avedon left Harper's Bazaar after their publisher, Robert McLeod, wanted to remove the photos of Sheena Machado, but then a few years later, Avedon had an argument at Vogue with Diana Vreeland about Danya Luna. He said she was extraordinary, and Vreeland said, so was King Kong. Yves Saint Laurent is responsible for the biggest shift in racial inclusion in the modeling industry, as one of the very first European designers to cast and celebrate models of different ethnicities. Munya Orozman became one of his muses, and he even designed his Porgy and Bess collection in 1978 with her as the inspiration. Yves Saint Laurent championed models like Iman, Anna Bailey, Katusha Nyan, and the 80s were a time when these women were some of the greatest stars of the runway. In 1988, Naomi Campbell became the first black model ever to be on the cover of French Vogue, not because the editor-in-chief wanted to use her for the cover, but because Yves Saint Laurent threatened to pull all his advertising from the magazine if they didn't put her on the cover. He was a true example of allyship and seeing beauty across the racial spectrum, but that is not the case with other designers. A few years after that French Vogue cover, the pendulum swung the other way, and despite the global success and fame of models like Naomi Campbell and Iman, the runways became more white, thanks largely to one woman, Miuccia Prada. In 1994, Naomi Campbell walked for Prada, but Prada did not cast a single black model for 14 years until Jourdan Dunn walked in the Fall-Winter 2008 show. So let me ask you, am I supposed to believe that this woman accidentally forgot to book a black model season after season, year after year, for more than a decade? When Prada started booking black models, at first it was a few very light-skinned ones, like Jourdan Dunn and Malika Firth, who was the first black model in 19 years to be in a Prada campaign. Again, I ask you, am I supposed to believe that this woman is not racist when it took nearly 2 decades to have a black model in one of her campaigns? Keep in mind, this only happened after public criticism by models like Naomi Campbell, Iman, and Beth Ann Hardison, who are going on interviews calling out the lack of diversity in the fashion weeks. Prada became the most influential show on the global stage, and the all-white skin casting became the trend that the other designers followed. With this brief historical overview in mind, let's talk about what colorism looks like today. In this last decade, the biggest shift has been that clients used to sprinkle in a very few light-skinned black models on the runway, but now it seems they have been almost entirely erased from the industry in favor of exclusively dark-skinned models, most of them from South Sudan due to how dark their skin is. I'm recording this video in July 2025, and I want to use this casting of Saint Laurent's men's show last month to highlight exactly what's going on here. Although Yves Saint Laurent himself found beauty across all races, this casting by Samuel Ellis from DM Casting shows a clear preference for dark-skinned models. There are 0 mixed-race models here. Now look at the casting for Dries Van Noten. Also DM Casting, 0 mixed-race models. Amira casting by Noah Shelley? Sean Swen casting by Danu van der Graaf? If I cover the upper face, is this diversity when the skin color is so constrained? For women's runway shows, there tend to be a few more models that are mixed race or just of lighter skin tone, but still, the preference for dark-skinned black models is very clear. Look at this casting for Dries Van Noten. 0 mixed race models, 10 dark-skinned black models. I promise you, I'm not just cherry-picking these examples. It is across the board what is going on in casting. If 1 out of 5 models in the models.com list of future stars has South Sudanese heritage, is that diversity? Of course, it is amazing that dark-skinned models are now being included on runways campaigns across the industry, and some of my favorite models, like Anak Yai and Adut Akesh, have South Sudanese heritage. But the problem is that clients are now looking for a specific skin color, not being open to racial diversity. Does it make sense that a casting would include 1 in 5 models from South Sudan, but 0 from Brazil? Beyond the runway, I also want to examine colorism with dark-skinned black models and how they are depicted in fashion imagery. This cover of British Vogue got the most attention on the subject, where the models had their skin darkened and desaturated, while the Ghanaian-born Edward Enninful was editor-in-chief. But there are way bigger issues beyond that one cover. These gorgeous dark-skinned models are not being booked for their beauty, but the darkness of their skin to serve as a literal black backdrop for clothing, dehumanizing them. The models are often photographed where they are underexposed, their faces are obscured, it is just using their bodies as a replaceable black form. Look at these photographs from Numéro 1. You never see the face of the black model, but you can see the face of the other boy. These models are not being treated as models or even as people, just forms to make an interesting photographic composition. Dark-skinned models are considered edgy, exotic, high fashion, but mixed-race models are considered urban, hip-hop, streetwear. The main fashion capitals are Milan, New York City, London, and Paris, all cities with racial diversity and where you find a mix of skin colors, but those models are not booking jobs anymore. Does it make sense that agencies are scouting at refugee camps to find a certain color of black when their own countries are filled with gorgeous black models? I'm not being hyperbolic. Scouts are going to the Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya to try and find potential models that fit the color they are looking for. Check out the video I made on the subject for more on that. When people hear colorism, the first thought is a preference for lighter skin tone. So the first part of this video might have come as a surprise, but don't worry, this is also a huge part of the discrimination in the modeling industry. Models are warned to stay out of the sun at all costs to keep their skin as light as possible, which excludes entire races of people. When it comes to Asian models, Koreans, Chinese, and Japanese models are doing very well, but there's an absence of Asian models with darker skin. Filipinos, Indonesians, there are hundreds of millions of Asians that are not being represented in an industry that is perpetuating light skin as being superior. I'm only focusing on the modeling industry of New York, Paris, London, and Milan. It goes without saying that colorism across the other markets is a problem. I really hope we get to a place where models are booked for their beauty, not for being a specific color, and that diversity actually looks like diversity, not the binary of black and white. I know the South Sudanese models is a trend that will eventually be replaced with something else, but I really hope that the modeling industry can evolve into something better as younger generations take over and value actual diversity. Let me know in the comments what you think about colorism in the modeling industry, and especially to those in the industry, what has your experience been? And of course, be sure to subscribe for more videos about the fashion industry and those who shape it.